The 2026 MotoGP season has not even started yet, but the paddock is already burning. Can one man carry the weight of being the best in the world season after season without cracking under the pressure? Can Marc Marquez defend his title when every single rival on the grid has studied him, trained harder because of him, and is coming for him with absolutely everything they have got? And is the psychological war in the 2026 paddock already decided before the first race even begins? I'm Ratan Kumar, and welcome to my channel, MotoGP News. Marc Marquez arrived in 2026 as the man to beat. That sounds like a good thing, and yes, in many ways it is. But there is a dark side to that position that very few people talk about openly. When you are the champion, everything changes overnight. Expectations go through the roof. Every race you do not win becomes a major story. Every small mistake becomes headline news, and every rival you face is no longer just competing. They are hunting you down with purpose. Marquez had a brilliant 2025 season. He recovered from injury, adapted to the Ducati faster than almost anyone expected, and took the world title back in style. That story was incredible to watch. But here is the truth. That story is now completely over. Nobody gives you credit for what you did last year in this sport. The 2026 season is a totally blank page. And on that blank page, Marquez has to start building again from zero. Defending a world title is a completely different challenge compared to winning one for the first time. When you are chasing the championship, you have nothing to lose. You can attack freely, take big risks, and make bold moves without fear. But when you are defending it, you suddenly have something to protect. That shift in mindset, even if it is only very small, can be enough to cost you everything in a sport as brutal and unforgiving as MotoGP. Now let us talk about the bike underneath him, because this is where things get really important. The Ducati is still the gold standard in MotoGP right now. Fast, reliable, and perfectly built for an aggressive riding style. But here's what the whole paddock is starting to realize. Ducati's lead over the rest of the field is not as big as it once was. Aprilia has made massive steps forward over the past 12 months. KTM, despite serious troubles off the track, continues to produce a genuinely fast motorcycle that can hurt anyone on a good day. And Yamaha, a manufacturer that many people had completely written off not too long ago, has been quietly building something that could genuinely surprise the entire field in 2026. What this means in real terms is that the margin for error has shrunk dramatically for everyone at the front, including Marquez. In previous seasons, Ducati could afford a bad weekend here and there and still recover comfortably. That luxury is now disappearing fast. The field is tighter than it has ever been, the competition is more equal across the board, and one bad race weekend can swing the championship title in a completely different direction. Marquez understands all of this very clearly, and you can see it in the way he communicates. Calm on the outside, but clearly thinking about every small detail with great care. Now let us talk about the rider who many paddock insiders are privately pointing to as the single biggest threat to Marquez this season. Marco Bezzecchi, riding for Aprilia. During preseason testing in Buriram, Bezzecchi was consistently fast in a way that really turned heads. Not just in single quick laps, but in long race simulations too. And that is the kind of performance that truly tells you where a rider and a team actually stand when the pressure is real. What makes Bezzecchi genuinely dangerous is not just his pure pace, it is his attitude. He is not getting carried away by positive preseason results. He is keeping his head down completely, doing the hard work every single day, and openly acknowledging that Ducati remains the favorite. That clear-headed thinking, knowing exactly where you stand without letting your ego interfere, is the mark of a rider who is mentally prepared to fight hard for a world championship. When Marquez himself named Bezzecchi as his strongest rival for this season, the Italian barely even reacted. He gave a short, controlled response and said simply that he would let his riding on the track do all the talking. That level of composure at this stage of his career, on a new bike with a fresh team, is something genuinely special to see. Aprilia is not here just to fill out the top 10 anymore. They are building towards something real and meaningful, and Bezzecchi might be exactly the rider who finally delivers it for them. But the pressure on Marquez goes well beyond the racetrack itself. His contract situation with Ducati beyond 2026 is not fully settled, and in MotoGP, uncertainty about your future creates a very specific kind of noise that follows you absolutely everywhere you go. Every interview he gives, every result he produces, every race he wins or loses, all of it is now being examined through the lens of what happens next for him. Is he still at his absolute peak? Is he worth the long-term commitment as the sport moves into a new technical era? These questions are being asked not just by journalists, but by the decision makers inside Ducati itself. And then there is the 22.7 regulation change casting a long shadow over the entire paddock. When the technical rules shift significantly, the competitive order in MotoGP can flip completely and without warning. A team that completely dominates under the current rules might struggle badly under new ones, and history in this sport has proven that many times over. So Marquez is essentially making massive career decisions right now in a fog of deep uncertainty. Beyond all of that, there has been genuine speculation in recent months about whether Marquez might actually retire earlier than anyone in the sport expected. His recent public statements have carried a noticeably different tone. He is no longer talking purely about records and victories. He is talking about the journey, the physical risks, the real sacrifices involved in reaching the very top of this sport year after year, and the harsh realities of racing that do not always favor anyone, not even the greatest legends. For many longtime fans, hearing Marquez speak this way feels like a real shift in who he is as a competitor. He said openly that he is not racing to prove anything to anyone anymore, that he wants to enjoy the journey and do his best while he still can. Those last 4 words carry enormous weight. While Marquez deals with all of this, his rivals are absolutely not standing still. Francesco Bagnaia arrives in 2026 as a proven champion who knows exactly what it takes to win on a Ducati, and has the deep team trust to back it up. Fabio Quartararo is rebuilding with clear purpose and burning ambition to return to the very top of the sport where he knows he belongs. And Bezzecchi, as we discussed, is rapidly developing into one of the most complete and dangerous riders in the entire paddock. Meanwhile, Valentino Rossi, the 9-time legend and owner of the VR46 team, recently spoke about MotoGP entering a phase of generational transition, about young talents rising and the sport looking very different to the era he once dominated. Many observers read those comments as a quiet signal that Rossi sees a real opportunity for Marquez's era to finally end. And that interpretation has reignited an old and deeply powerful narrative between two of the greatest names this sport has ever produced. If Marquez wins again in 2026, his place in history becomes even more firmly cemented, drawing closer to, and in some measures surpassing, the achievements of those legendary riders who came before him. That is an uncomfortable truth for some, and that symbolic pressure, while invisible on the racetrack, is very real in the wider world of MotoGP. And here is perhaps the most fascinating part of all. That changed mindset of Marquez might actually make him more dangerous, not less. A rider who is no longer desperately chasing records, who races with genuine freedom rather than fear, can produce some of the most brilliant and uninhibited riding you will ever witness in this sport. The champion mentality he carries has been built through years of absorbing the very worst situations MotoGP can throw at a person. Injuries, defeats, public doubt, and turning all of it into pure fuel. The 2026 season is about more than just who has the fastest bike or the best race strategy. It is about mentality, preparation, and the ability to survive an increasingly brutal storm of pressure from all directions. Can Marc Marquez stand tall through all of it and emerge as the MotoGP champion once again? Drop your answer in the comments below, and do not forget to subscribe to MotoGP News for every story this season.